Should you trade on Polymarket, and is it even possible to make money on prediction markets? Hello and welcome to the Web3 Guides YouTube channel. My name is Andrew and today we are going to talk about Polymarket again. This time we will try to figure out who can trade on Polymarket and be profitable and who should avoid such platforms. We'll talk about Polymarket specific risks and limitations and give you examples of potentially profitable strategies that traders use on the platform. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell button and let's get started. In our previous video, we already talked about what prediction markets are, why are they so popular, and discussed their future. So if you want, you can go check it out. And for the purposes of this video, we'll just briefly explain how Polymarket works. So Polymarket is a blockchain-based prediction market. People using the platform essentially trade the outcomes of upcoming events, or rather the probabilities of those outcomes. Each single market on the platform is presented as a question, which can be answered with a simple yes or no. It can be something like, will this candidate win the election, or will Bitcoin rise above 100k this year? The yes and the no for each market are represented by tokenized assets. Polymarket calls them shares. Their prices can fluctuate between $0 and $1, depending on how many people buy one option against the other. So in other words, they are regulated by supply and demand, and the price itself sort of indicates the market's expectations. Like the price of 70 cents, for example, can be interpreted as 70% possibility. After we know the actual outcome, the market resolves and prices finalize. If the result is positive, yes will be worth $1 and no will be worth 0. And vice versa if the outcome is negative. People can also sell their shares before the conclusion. So essentially there are two ways to trade on Polymarket. You can either wait for the results or speculate on price fluctuations. Usually traders combine those two approaches. But is it safe to trade on Polymarket? Many compare Polymarket to a betting platform. Well, from a technical standpoint, it's quite different. Polymarket works more like an actual market. It doesn't set the prices and the probabilities itself. The prices are generated by the supply and demand dynamics. Being a blockchain platform, Polymarket is also quite transparent. But it still has many risks. Some of them are common for all markets, others arise from the platform's own limitations. The first thing to note is that trading on Polymarket is pure speculation and definitely not an investment strategy. For that you should probably stick to the classic crypto exchanges. We will leave the links to the exchanges that we use in the pinned comment under this video. Using them to create an account, you will get additional welcome bonuses for new traders, such as fee rebates, trading vouchers, discounts, and so on. As for trading on Polymarket, there are strategies that can potentially work and which traders are using there. But before we get to those, let's first discuss Polymarket's major risks and limitations. The first problematic factor is that on the surface level, Polymarket seems very simple. To start trading, you just need to create a crypto wallet, go to the platform, and connect your wallet. Then you pick a market and buy yes or no in just a couple of clicks. Because of that, many people who know very little about crypto or even trading in general can just go and trade on Polymarket, and they do. So Polymarket's seeming simplicity can make people easily cross the line between trading and gambling. You can start trading emotions, rely too heavily on your intuition, and neglect proper research, which is very important on this platform, as much or maybe even more than on other markets. The fact that Polymarket is impacted very heavily by emotions is a major risk factor itself. Many events are simply too emotionally charged for some people to remain level-headed. And the news and media have a very strong influence over Polymarket, so some headlines can cause waves of buying and selling, which can significantly shift prices. This leads to another important factor. Trading on Polymarket, if one wants to be profitable, is quite time-consuming and requires a lot of attention. A trader should keep a close eye on the news, find reliable sources of information, and be able to react quickly to what's happening on the market. So again, Polymarket is not for investing, it's for active trading. And the last major concern is liquidity. Although Polymarket's trading volumes have grown significantly, it's still not as big as a major crypto exchange, and thus there is less liquidity, especially on minor markets. So there absolutely can be issues such as noticeable slippage, which makes it harder to trade large volumes or open and close positions at the desired price. So with all that in mind, we can definitely say that if anyone can be profitable on Polymarket, it would likely be either an already experienced and active trader or someone who can and is ready to invest a lot of time into studying the market and developing a working strategy. Polymarket is definitely not for people who are prone to gambling or simply want fast and easy money. It's also not for people who are too busy to invest a lot of time into trading and researching, and definitely not for people who are susceptible to emotions. You should have at least a general understanding of market mechanics and risk management, and be able to control your emotions and make rational decisions. So you should carefully consider all this before deciding whether to trade on Polymarket or not. All that being said, there are traders who make profits on Polymarket, and there are specific strategies that can be used. Let's finally discuss some of those. So here are a few examples of strategies that can potentially work on Polymarket. The first one is trading against the hype. As we already said, big news can seriously impact prices on Polymarket, but not all the news really change the possibility of something happening. Some headlines are just noise, and thus sometimes price fluctuations are temporary. So if a price for one outcome pumps for a short time, a trader can act against the market, buy the opposite option and then wait until prices normalize to close the trade and take profit. Of course, here a trader should have at least some certainty that the news don't really change the probability and the market just overreacts. The second possible strategy is outrunning the market. Although Polymarket always reacts to major news, it's not as fast as other markets. So if a trader anticipates that the price will pump, he can act before the majority of market participants, ride the move to the top and then close the trade. Here it's not as important how the news really changed the probability of an outcome, but much more important to react quickly. The next one is not a strategy but rather a useful skill related to the previous two strategies. Fake news often come from the same unreliable sources and share similar structure, but Polymarket often reacts to them just the same. If you develop a skill of identifying fakes, it can give you an edge on the market. Working with information is in general very important on Polymarket. Traders who want to have an advantage should always look for reliable sources to have a better understanding of the situation behind the market they want to trade. The next strategy that a trader might use is trading the obvious. It's arguably one of the least risky strategies for Polymarket. Some event outcomes are more or less a certainty, but on Polymarket they are sometimes undervalued. One of the reasons is that many people on Polymarket place their bets on unlikely outcomes, hoping for large gains. This is one of the examples how trading on Polymarket can become gambling. So trader, on the other hand, can do the opposite and trade the obvious outcome for smaller but more likely profits. Of course, this approach has its downsides. First of all, the profit, which as we said will likely be relatively small, especially if a trader chooses the most likely outcomes, to avoid unnecessary risks. And secondly, no matter how obvious is the outcome, it's never 100% certainty, so traders should always hedge their risks. And finally, the last possible strategy is copy trading. Since Polymarket is a blockchain platform, you can track other traders' activity and transactions. For example, you can identify especially large wallets. Those often belong to traders who have some sort of an edge on the market. They might use complex algorithms and strategies or just have inside knowledge. So a regular trader can see what they're doing and copy some of their trades. For that you might use specific tools like Etherscan or just look at the most successful traders on Polymarket's leaderboard. Of course, there are risks and caveats to this approach. Although you can see other people's trades, you don't know the reasoning behind those trades, and you don't know how they plan to manage their trades. So even if you copy someone else in this way, after entering the trade you are on your own. If you choose to copy someone else's trades, you should never do it blindly, but always do your own research. It might be reasonable to pick only those trades to which a trader dedicates the largest portion of their capital. So those were just a few examples of what might work on Polymarket. Some more complex strategies can be derived, for example, from the specifics of certain markets, so it's useful to just study the platform yourself and learn how different markets work. It will likely give you some ideas of your own. Lastly, we strongly advise you against blindly copying the strategies we outlined in this video. Please always critically analyze the things you hear on the internet before considering to use them. As you can see, Polymarket is not a good or a bad thing, it's just a tool that can be used if you have the right mindset and skills. We still don't think that for active traders Polymarket can be the main platform, but rather an alternative for a handful of good trades or maybe for times when crypto market is not in a good state. Just always do your own research and don't risk the money you cannot afford to lose. And that is all for today. If you already trade on Polymarket, please share your experience in the comment section. We also always welcome your general questions and suggestions. Thanks for watching, guys, and good trades to everyone!